You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Golden night, Gladys night, stormy night, Shug night, don't care. Oilers in 5 or Oilers in 6. Let's get into it with the lead. All right, time to close the tab in which I Googled famous people with the last name Knight and begin the show. Welcome into a fresh week of Oilers Nation Everyday. The show, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app, use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The show also comes to you from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online at sportscloset.ca. From jerseys to hats to the legendary foam finger, you'll find it all and more at the Sports Closet. Liam.
Hello.
It was an entire weekend with no Oilers hockey. What did you do?
Well, mowed the lawn.
You're mowing already.
I mowed once.
Okay. Thatch, dethatch, whatever.
I did that already, yeah.
All right.
I did all that stuff. That was it. What did you do?
You just mowed your lawn.
Yeah, hung out with a few friends, but the main accomplishment was mowing the lawn. I had to build the lawnmower, too.
Oh, really?
I never used it before. So.
Getting a lawnmower was an exciting moment.
And I watched Caddyshack. You seen that?
Yeah.
Bit of a, I don't know. Is it good? Is it bad? I can't really decide.
Push mower is my question to you. Push mower?
It's an electric. Yeah.
Yeah,
I pushed it. Do you push?
Well, yeah, but
pull?
like, were you asking like,
did I push or pull?
Did you build one that you sit on? What do you got?
one that you sit on? What is he? He is a farmer.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit in my
And
yard.
Caddyshack, great movie. Great movie.
I think it's one of those where like cult following, classic, got to see it a few times.
Yeah, it was.
But it's definitely not like a great movie, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was great. I had higher expectations. It was fine.
You had never seen it?
No, I'd never seen
wow.
it. And I was watching it. I want to watch something I've not seen before. So I watched Caddyshack.
There you go.
I bet Louie likes Caddyshack.
I bet you Louie does like Caddyshack. He's going to join us in a few minutes to talk a little bit about the Oilers finishing off the LA Kings, talk a little bit about the Oilers going up against the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's not our only guest today either. Devan Dubnyk going to join us. He wasn't on last week. I said, Doobie, what the hell? He said, my bad, I'll join you Monday. So Doobie will join us. We'll talk about the goaltending decision that the Oilers have to make. Do they even have a goaltending decision to make? All that good stuff coming up a little bit later on in the show. But for now, Liam, while this weekend did not feature any Edmonton Oilers playoff hockey, it did feature some damn good Stanley Cup playoff action. Let's get into it for our friends at Boston Pizza. This year, we bring it home. Canada, if you manifest it, it could happen. And 3 of those 5 Canadian teams are indeed on to the second round. This year, we bring it home with Boston Pizza. Let's talk about the 2 Game 7s, Liam, because they were 2 of the best Game 7s I can remember from my lifetime, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. Starting on Saturday night when the Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche took to the ice, and quite honestly, it was all Colorado Avalanche early in that hockey game. The shots heavily favored them. They were up 2-0. Nathan MacKinnon found the back of the net and got in on a goal that wasn't an empty netter. Massive moment for him. I'm sitting there sweating out my Nathan MacKinnon, Connor McDavid, both to lead their series in points parlay. And I'm sitting there. I was on my deck, had my fire table going. 10 minutes to go in the game. I'm like, oh man, Nate's up 3 points on McKinnon or on Rantanen. I'm good.
Oh boy.
Mikko Rantanen proceeds to get 4 points in the next 10 minutes, and the Stars win it in regulation. That was an absolute stunner, and that was one of the best individual performances in Stanley Cup playoff history. Like, I don't know if you caught the end of that hockey game live. It was like literally all and only Mikko.
Yeah, he kind of just turned it on, didn't he, and absolutely dominated them and made them regret everything.
Yeah.
And then the post-game comments from Nathan MacKinnon being like, I don't know what we do now. They didn't have their best defenseman and their best forward. He labeled Robertson as a one-off, whatever he said. It's just like, well, we did lose in Game 7. I feel like the world hasn't fully ended for you guys.
A team that I think everyone would agree was, that was the best, toughest first round matchup. It's not like they lost to St. Louis.
And also they were on the road.
Yeah.
Another part of it. So
although Dallas was missing two of their best players.
Yeah, and they were winning 2-0 in the third period. It was a blow. And another side of it is I'm happy Colorado's out. I also thought they were always pretty overrated. I think both these teams are pretty overrated.
Well, so here's the thing that my take on the Avs was, everyone loved that they went and got Mackenzie Blackwood, and he was good. He was very good for them.
Not good enough.
But their blue line was not good. You have Taves and Makar, obviously excellent. Josh Manson has fallen off a cliff. It's crazy to see.
He's old.
Sam Girard is a good number 5 who can run your second power play. Mm-hmm. Ryan Lindgren can't skate. Sam Malinsky is worse than any defenseman the Oilers have played in the playoffs this year, maybe next to Josh Brown.
And he's a number 9 defenseman.
Yeah.
And they weren't missing anybody, were they?
No, they were scratching Eric Johnson, I believe, at the end. And even the forward group was healthy, and their forward group was really good. But I feel like everything that people criticize the Oilers for being, the Avs are.
Yeah.
And I know they went out and again, solved their goaltending. Another angle of that is they gave Mackenzie Blackwood a massive, massive extension. And you could sit there and go, oh boy, was that a smart thing to do with the limited sample size? I don't know. And I mean, it's a bet that they're certainly hoping pays off in the next little bit. Blackwood, Wedgwood as your duo for 6.75 is fine for next season. It's good enough. But where do they go from here? They've made it past the second round once in the last 8 seasons.
And that was when they won.
It's when they won the Cup.
That's a very interesting way to put it, isn't it? So
they're the
first Kings thing.
They're the first team in NHL, NBA, and MLB history, first franchise to lose 7 straight Game 7s.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you see, the Boar is undefeated in Game 7s.
Never lost.
And what's his name? Bednar is obviously not 0-2, I think it is.
I think he's 0-4.
He's 0-4. But only one of them has a Stanley Cup.
Bednar, yeah. It's interesting.
Crazy.
It also, again, just shows how difficult it is to continually win rounds in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? And I think that's, again, what makes the Oilers impressive in all of this is that they find ways to win rounds. You had your trip to the conference final. You had a trip to the Cup final. You lost to Vegas in round 2 a couple of years ago. But this year, you move on through round 1 again. And granted, playing the LA Kings is different than having to play the Dallas Stars, and the Central Division's tough. I understand all that. But, you can also look to a Colorado team that lost to Seattle a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had their moments in the past, too. Did they beat Calgary as the 8th seed? I think they did.
I think that one year they did. Yeah.
So that would have been the only other time in the last however long that they made it past the first round is when they were the 8th seed. That's kind of crazy. But the Winnipeg game, crazy ending.
Yeah, so firstly, just on Rantanen, a couple things. First player in NHL history with a third period Game 7 hat trick. First player in NHL history with back-to-back 4-point periods.
Damn.
Or back-to-back games with a 4-point period. He now leads the playoffs with 12 points. It was an all-time bad beat for me on the front of, again, McKinnon is up by 3 points with 10 minutes to go in the series, and he somehow blows that lead to Mikko Rantanen. Also, the empty netter going in with 2 seconds left. It's come on, really?
Couldn't even get the push.
Yeah, couldn't even get the push. All right, the St. Louis.
Out of all of that, we didn't even mention the game-winning goal was scored by Wyatt Johnson.
Yep.
Who just continues to. I don't even know where I would rank him. He's a star, I guess, in the NHL.
Yeah, he is. He's a star.
Yeah,
like a Dallas star. Yeah.
Former guest of the show, my show, the Nation Network Prospect Show.
Available on Daily Face.
Yeah, available on Daily Face-Off. Wherever it is, you go find it.
Okay, Winnipeg, St. Louis quickly, because I know we're going to be joined by Louie in a little bit. I don't even think it's an understatement, or an overstatement, I should say. It's not an overstatement to call that game a miracle for Winnipeg.
No, they scored with a second left.
They scored 2 goals in the final 2 minutes. Also, fun fact from our boy Jason Gregor, who is always full of these kinds of stats. Get the team in the NHL this year who was the worst defending at 6-on-5.
St.
Louis Blues.
Yeah.
All year they could not defend at 6-on-5. They gave up more goals than anyone when the other team had the goalie pulled, and it bites them in the ass again. Perfetti with 1.7 to go keeps the season alive, and it was bedlam in Winnipeg, man. That crowd pop on the Lowry OT winner, which.
Cool.
it's not a good double overtime game unless the winner is just a crazy ass fluke. Like if it's a pretty goal in overtime, no one wants to see that. I want a double deflection that barely squeaks past the goalie, and I want a guy like Adam Lowry scoring it. I don't want a superstar dangling around. No, that's not.
It's
fun.
the only way you can do it.
Yeah, only way you can do it. I loved it. Winnipeg, that crowd was just absolutely unbelievable. So good for the Jets. They're on to round 3 or on to round 2, and one of 3 Canadian teams to have punched their ticket to round 2.
Do you care about that stuff?
Canadian teams?
Yeah, like do you care that now?
I just
Canadian
love the
teams
crowds,
are
and the crowds are. It's nice to see. I
Yeah.
feel like being Western Canadian towns, like we got a bit of a connection to Winnipeg. Like you feel for them a bit. You can understand what they go through with the long winters and now getting to go out and enjoy their team in the springtime when the city's beautiful. It's good.
I suppose.
What would Boston Pizza say? They would say, hell yeah, more Canadian teams move on. This year we bring it home. That's what Boston Pizza would say. All right.
Boston Pizza would say
Let's get out to the
Plan
guest
the parade.
line. Plan the parade. Let's get out to the guest line. Louie DeBrusk's appearances on the show are brought to you by Litco Law. Do you think you might need a personal injury lawyer, but you're not sure and you don't know where to start? Litco Law has been helping injured Edmontonians for over 50 years. They pride themselves on being lawyers you'll love. They're friendly, approachable. They actually care, and you can always get a hold of them when you need them. Don't take my word for it. Go to litcolaw.com. Find out for yourself. Every consult is free, so what do you have to lose? Go to litcolaw.com. Louie DeBrusk, Sportsnet analyst who will be on the call in the round 2 series between the Oilers and Golden Knights. Louie, how fired up are you for round 2 with Jack and Gene?
Pretty fired up, guys. It's going to be big boy hockey again. Very similar to the first round, in my opinion. 2 teams that know each other pretty well, and I think they're going to be going at it. I really do. I think they have a healthy respect for one another, but that respect goes right out the window like round 1 once you start to play on the ice. They know they're going up against a good opponent. I think both teams will be ready right from the get-go, and it should be the kind of series we expect it to be.
Before we keep going on Oilers and Golden Knights, let me ask you about the 2 series we were just talking about, the Miracle in Winnipeg and Mikko Rantanen's revenge. Which one of those 2 games 7 spoke to you more? Which one was more entertaining?
Boy, weren't they both unbelievable? And this is what this is all about, isn't it? It's incredible how intense playoff hockey is, and when it goes right down to the wire, it makes heroes out of a lot of people. I think they both kind of resonated with me in different ways. I think Rantanen, being able to see him, we saw him a lot at the end of the year. We saw him in Colorado, we saw him in Carolina, we saw him back when he got traded to Dallas, and I saw a guy that was a little bit bewildered how things had gone in the last month. He was really trying to find his way, and it was a big change for him. 2 big changes. Leaving a team that he won a Stanley Cup with, that he'd been for 10 years, going, to Carolina, not being able to figure out a deal, not really blending in there as well as people thought he would, and then going to Dallas and ultimately signing the big deal. I think that he settled down, and that was a huge performance by him up against his old team. I mean, that was just a statement. His last 3 games were a statement. 11 points in those 3 games for Rantanen, pretty incredible. So that resonated that way because he's a really good guy. I like Rantanen. He's one of those guys you talk to. He's a big human being, but I could tell it was weighing on his mind when I talked to him, the moves that were happening and what was going to happen with his future. I think that's a pretty amazing way for him to finish off, which was a very emotional series for him going up against his old team. He didn't want to leave Colorado, and they weren't that far apart. So I think maybe looking back at it now, maybe a decision, should they have made that decision? Who knows? I mean, that's going to be something that time will tell. On the flip side of it, 3-1 St. Louis, I'm thinking, like a lot of people, it was over. Quite frankly, I thought that game was over. St. Louis is a stingy team. They're without Morrissey, who got hurt in the first round. Mark Scheifele isn't playing for the 2nd game in a row. I mean, those are your 2 big players that are not in the lineup. But that Winnipeg Jets team, Scott O'Neill said it after the game, I have to give them a lot of credit. They buckled down. Adam Lowry, the captain, with the big game-winning goal in double overtime. That place erupted. It was amazing to see the whiteout. I played in a whiteout before when I was a member of the Phoenix Coyotes in the playoffs. It's an amazing atmosphere, and I've covered games in that arena. Actually, when they played St. Louis in 2019, I covered that series, and they didn't come out on top of that one. So pretty amazing atmosphere to see, and I agree with you guys. I think just the explosion of the fans and the buy-in from the fans in Canadian markets for me is just incredible, and it was amazing to see them pull it out. I think probably I'll lean towards Winnipeg just with the fashion in which they won it. They tied it up late. They won it in double overtime, and that's what the playoffs are all about. You're never out of it until you are.
Yeah, right, literally coming down to the last second in some of these games too. But back to Edmonton and Vegas, like, what do you think the areas are that Edmonton has the edge over the Golden Knights going into this series?
Well, the main one being offense. Even though Vegas is an offensive team, I think that when you look at the regular season, Vegas was the third best defensive team in the league. You've got to tip your cap to them in that regard. So defensive minded, yeah, that's the game they play. Similar to Los Angeles Kings, who are second in the NHL. So they're up against another team that defends really well, and they know that. But they have the offensive power, and they have the depth now, which we saw in the first round really come out later in the round, where line combinations started to get settled, and you started to see guys put up big performances that weren't named Draisaitl and McDavid, which is really important in the playoffs. I mean, 3 assists from Draisaitl and McDavid in games 5 and 6. They played great games, but it was other guys that stepped up and got the job done, and that's really, really important. That is a really empowering feeling for a team to know that everybody's pulling on the rope. I would lean defense for Vegas, offense for Edmonton, and I would give Edmonton the slight advantage in speed too, and that's what they're going to have to play with. They're going to have to play with a lot of speed against the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is a big, heavy team that likes to lean on you. For Edmonton, they've got to make sure that they go in there and they're all rolling. They're all moving. And they've got speed on all 4 lines now, and they're going to have to use it. They're going to have to move the puck quickly, let the puck do the work a lot of times. It's going to be a tough battle. But if they do that, I like their chances.
Yeah, that Golden Knights blue line is really interesting because you go look at it on Daily Faceoff and it's like all these famous names and it's like, holy smokes, they have Noah Hannafin on their third pairing. What kind of team is putting Noah Hannafin on their third pairing? But I was going back through some of the numbers against the Minnesota Wild and they did struggle. Each pairing actually had games it looked like where they struggled against the Minnesota Stars. So like Boldy and Kaprizov just had their way for a couple of those games. So that'll be interesting to see if this Golden Knights blue line can sort of find that next gear. It felt like they got it a bit more as that series against Minnesota went on. But man, if you had a tough time with Kaprizov and Boldy, and this is not taking anything away from them, they are like legitimate stars in the game. But like if you had a tough time with them, you might have a real tough time with Connor and Leon.
Well, they're going up against number 1 and 2 in points per game in the playoffs among active players. That's what they're up against. And that's what every team's up against when they go up against Edmonton. I agree with you. And that switch, Hannafin going to the third pairing, Hague coming up to the second pairing, was mid round, and they, Bruce Cassidy shuffled with that a bit. They started to shuffle with things because it just wasn't working. Pietrangelo came back late, hadn't played down the stretch. There was some things they were trying to mix, and they had some struggles in games. They're big, they're physical, but here's the thing: speed against that big and physical play can do some damage, and I think that's what Minnesota did. You have to have a combination, and Edmonton does. They have physicality in all lines now. They have players that can drive to the net. They have a heavy net presence, which they're going to have against that system. Shots from the blue line are going to become ultra important. Moving it back and forth, finding those quiet zones, right, in the ice, amongst the coverage of the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought Minnesota did that pretty well. And it was movement. Kaprizov, like you mentioned, around the world, similar to what McDavid likes to do. He is an elite player, but they're going to have to handle Connor, and they know that. But I do look at it, and they did shuffle the lines as well. Similar to Edmonton, they went into that series against Minnesota. They were down 2-1 in the series, and they started to tweak lines. They started to shuffle guys around. They loaded up Karlsson in the top line with Eichel, and I think that's a little prelude to maybe what they want to go up against Connor McDavid and Leon if they're together. If Leon and Connor get separated, he's going to have to separate that. Karlsson most likely gets Connor, I would guess. And probably Eichel goes up against Draisaitl, or maybe they send their checking line up against Draisaitl and leave Eichel to be alone. It's going to be really interesting to see what matchups Bruce Cassidy wants. If you remember back to 23, and I covered that series, Edmonton had the lead in every single game of that series. They scored the first goal in 5 of the 6 games. They were great out of the gates, and they're going to need to be again. But Vegas, like Edmonton, is a team that can come from behind. They don't go away. They don't go away through the 60-minute game, and if it takes more, it takes more. So both of these teams have those intangibles to really, really come back and fight hard in games. It should be a great one. But for me, I look at that series. Bruce Cassidy started his 4th line against the top line of Edmonton to start that series. Do you remember that? The first face-off of that series, they loaded up the top line for Edmonton, and he put out their 4th line. Now, the 4th line isn't the same as it was. There's been some changes in Vegas. They lost their MVP, Conn Smythe winner, Marchessault. And he was a big factor in that series against Edmonton in 23. He scored 5 goals, including a hat trick in one of the games to finish it off. So there's some different players, but it's a similar team in the way that they play, and their core is still the same. A lot of guys that won that cup in 23 are remaining. So this is going to be a battle. But I think Edmonton's going in here again, in the eyes of most people, as the underdog. And I think they feel that. I think they understand that Vegas is a team that's won. Vegas is a team that had the better record in the regular season, albeit a regular season where Edmonton had some difficulties and adversity they had to face throughout it. But similar to the LA series, I think they got a little chip on their shoulder. I do. I think they have a chip on their shoulder, and that's a dangerous team for me when you have a chip on your shoulder, when you've got Draisaitl, McDavid ready to roll.
I know you want to ask about the blue line, but just one more on the forward group. Like, thinking back to that series 2 years ago, if I'm remembering it correctly, it really was Connor and Leon doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Like, Leon had that 4-goal game, and it was the Stars producing, and there really wasn't all that much outside of it. I think maybe Warren Fogle finally scored in Game 6. But this year, and I guess this last round against the Kings, we saw that second line, Nuge, Hyman, and Kane come together, and then the fourth line chips in offensively, and Connor Brown had his best game as an Oiler in Game 6. He was unbelievable. This year, more than ever, the Oilers, it feels like they can load up that top line and actually have help when the two guys aren't on the ice. Like, that to me feels like the biggest difference from 2 years ago to now, is that this Oilers forward group is tough, it's veteran, and they can actually produce for them.
I agree, and it won the series for them against the Kings. Simple as that. It did. We talked a lot about the depth of the Kings coming into the series, and rightfully so. They have 3 lines that were fantastic during the regular season, were fantastic, for 3-4 games in the series. I mean, they had the lead going into the third period. They could have finished off all those games. They didn't. They didn't execute at the critical times. Simple as that. They had chances. They just didn't execute at the right times, where Edmonton did. When Edmonton got their chances, they executed. That was the biggest difference in the series for me. But I do believe, and I'm right on par with you, that this Oilers team and this collection of players is deeper than what we saw in 23. It's deeper, and they're feeling good about themselves. And I'll go back to the last month of the season when Draisaitl and McDavid didn't play together for the final 14 games. Both of them missed time. You had other players that were missing time because of injuries in the back end. Kane hadn't played a game. Trent Frederick had played 7 minutes in the regular season against the Los Angeles Kings. All these question marks going into the postseason, and nobody really knew what the team was going to look like once the puck dropped for Game 83. As the series went on, it just started to morph together. And I've been really impressed with guys like Kane stepping in after missing the whole year, Klingberg stepping in after missing a lot of time, Frederick stepping in and getting better every single game after missing a big chunk of time down the stretch and only playing that 7 minutes in an Oilers uniform. I just think that this is a team that's starting to feel it at the right time.
Oh, did we lose?
The right time.
There we go. Liam on the blue line.
Oh, sorry. The blue line, obviously no Matthias Ekholm for them so far in the playoffs. I guess 2-part question. 1, do you have any update on when we could see Ekholm? Could he be back this series? But also 2, like, just the players that have stepped up for them on the blue line as well without Ekholm. Does it make you less concerned that they don't have him right now?
It does. I think the performance of Wallman and Klingberg, especially in that first round, and Jake Wallman, for me, he led the team in plus minus. He started to log more minutes as the series went on. He really provided that secondary pairing for me, and that's so critical. Darnell Nurse moved up. I know they shuffled the defense around a lot, and Paul Coffey's not afraid to load up Kulak with one of those guys if he needs to shorten the bench. Ty Emerson sometimes can be on the outside in, but he's given them good minutes when he's been on the ice. He's been solid. He's been sound. He's been physical. He's great on the penalty kill. I like the back end. Obviously, you can't replace Matthias Ekholm. Matthias Ekholm is a Viking. That guy does a lot. He does a lot for the team, and they know it. But every single guy to a man also understands they have to pull a little bit more weight. They have to do a little bit more. And I think they did in that first round. That Los Angeles team pushed really hard. And I think they were able to kind of shut them down. The forward group also, you have to give them credit. The backtracking, the speed coming back through the neutral zone, allowing their defensemen to step up, being deep in the defensive zone, making plays on the walls, getting pucks out. When you feel you're going to be getting pushed, everybody, 5-man unit, has to come back and do the job. It's not just the defense, and I don't like putting it all in the defense. It's the forward group as well, and the centermen, especially when they're down low in that zone, that have to do some heavy lifting. And they did. So I do. I think Klingberg is the one for me that, and I love Klingberg. He was the guy, and we've talked about this, Oliver Ekman-Larsson and him were two players, you go 10 years ago, 9 years ago, coveted. Every single team wanted a guy like each of those guys in their lineup. Ekman-Larsson kind of fell out of favor, a little bit jumped around, then he finds Florida. I thought he got tougher. I thought he got more physical. He started to dig in defensively, wins the Stanley Cup last year, and he's had a real impact in Toronto getting through the first round, right? That's the difference. These are veteran, smart players that understand that they can change their game a little bit. And Klingberg's no different. Klingberg, for me, is cut from the same cloth. Great from the blue line, has that swagger and that skill to make plays that he has to make. I mean, he's toe-dragging guys. He's trying to make moves. People don't understand how brave and how confident you have to be to do that in the heat of the battle in the Stanley Cup playoffs and try and toe-drag a forward that's coming out at your mock speed. He gets a piece of that puck. You're giving him a breakaway from your blue line. Simple as that. But that's what makes these guys great. That's what makes them great. And yes, I know he was coughing up a puck from time to time. Everybody coughs up puck in the playoffs. But the elite plays that he made, the 1-1 goal came in game number 5. That was an incredible play to keep that play alive and find him. The shot pass on Draisaitl's goal is well down low. Those are elite offensive plays, but he's digging in offensively. And the thing with Klingberg, Kane, Frederick, they're starting to feel healthy. They're starting to feel healthy for the first time in a while. That's a great feeling. It's a great feeling when you're a player and you're starting to feel better each and every day. This is going to be a good series. I think that, like I said, Edmonton has a chip on their shoulder. I think the big boys, the team that was there that lost in 23, which is a lot of players again, they remember. They don't forget those things.
We're going to have our boy Devan Dubnyk on in a little bit, so we'll really dig into the goaltending with him, but I'll get your take on it here. Yeah, Doobie's the best. Any thought at all to you about fresh slate game 1 Stuart Skinner, or is this Calvin Pickard's net?
I'm getting the feeling it's Calvin Pickard. He won 4 in a row. You've got to give him that opportunity, but I do think we'll see Skinner in there. I think they want to get Skinner in there. You want to have both guys going similar to what they did in the regular season. But when it comes down to the playoffs, it's about winning. Simple as that. And Calvin Pickard's won. He did a press conference yesterday. I don't think they throw him out there in front of the media if he's not going to start the game. I could be wrong. I know he didn't name the starter, but I'm leaning towards Pickard. But if they do go Stuart Skinner, listen, he played 3 of the 4 games against the Vegas Golden Knights. And, for me, if you look at the series back in 23, he lost a shutout in 2 of those games in the third period. He closed out Vegas in the 2 wins they had. Okay? And the other one was close. There were 5-on-3, 5-on-4 power play goals, Vegas, to be able to storm back and take the lead in that game. Like I said, Edmonton had leads. It was about holding on to the lead. So similar to what Los Angeles had to deal with against Edmonton, both of these teams in this series have to deal with teams that can really ratchet it up and push. And when they ratchet it up and push, heavy presences in front of the net. It's mucker kind of goals. It's a lot of traffic. It's redirections. Guys with good sticks around the net. I mean, the goal that Stone scored in the first round, knocking it out of the air, I mean, pretty impressive. I mean, these guys are good around the net. And Edmonton has guys that are good around the net too. So for goaltenders, some of those kind of games are harder to judge a goaltender. But Stuart Skinner's bigger. That's the one thing you have to remember. And I love Pick. He's a battler. He gets out there. He cuts down the angle. He knocks down pucks. He's a little old school. Somebody brought up Billy Ranford the other day to me as a comparable. And I think it's bang on. Billy Ranford was kind of that way. Billy Ranford was a very aggressive goaltender. He would react. He didn't go down to butterfly. He was more of that stand on his feet, and I'm gonna make you beat me, and I'm gonna react to your shot. And Pickard has a little bit of that. Whereas Stuart Skinner is a big goaltender, similar to Aiden Hill. So when you're playing a compacted system where you're back in your zone, you make yourself big. A lot of times those pucks are hitting you from the right position. If you're not, it looks pretty bad. I know that. But if you're on, those pucks hit you. So I think they're confident with both guys. I know Stewart's kind of fallen out of favor here. I don't think the team played as hard in front of him for games 1 and 2. Sorry they didn't. And that's just the reality of it. They weren't ready for those first 2 games, in my opinion. But from games 3 to 6, they battled in front of Calvin Pickard. He got the job done. If it's me, I'm starting him.
All right. Louie, enjoy your couple of days in Vegas. And then Saturday night, Rogers Place, rocking once again. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this. We'll chat with you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
See ya.
There you go. Louie DeBrusk, brought to you by Litco Law. He is also brought to you by Tourism Jasper this summer. Jasper is waiting for you. Find your happy place in Jasper, from hiking trails, paddling wild waters, or sharing laughs by the fire. Happiness finds you here in Jasper. They're ready to welcome you back for more unforgettable moments, because your best summer memories aren't behind you. They're waiting for you this summer in Jasper. Plan your trip at jasper.travel/summer. Always appreciate Louie DeBrusk popping on and giving us some takes. Also, this monitor is not ready for the playoffs.
I figured it out.
We have a regular season monitor. Is it on? Oh, it's on podcast too.
We've been
fooled. We've been fooled.
Played big time. Unless, yeah, there it
All
is.
right. We're going to figure out this monitor thing while we're on the go here. Oh, who is that? Is that me or you?
That's me. I got it. I'll do it for the time being.
Oh, it is? No, it's me. Oh, no, it's you.
It's
you.
me.
All right, get that
I saw
monitor.
Mulek brought it up in the chat, but the idea that the Oilers getting healthier as the playoffs go along is insane to me.
Well, like
That
Friday,
shouldn't happen.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 4 days off in between playoff games, man. Like, it's a great thing that they were able to finish off the LA Kings in 6 games the way they did, and like having to go back to LA for a 7th game on Saturday would have been really, really tough. So yeah, I agree. I really like the fact that they should continue to be rested. So
I feel like I'm back now.
because the monitor's up.
Honestly, it was I didn't feel like I was on a show.
Have you been
it
doing
was
the whole
heavy.
show and couldn't
Threw
see?
me up so much.
We haven't been able to
But
see
no.
for half the shows the last 3 days. We haven't been able to see what's going on. We've just been blindly doing this.
So when Louis went off, then I don't know what happened because I couldn't see anything. I was very out of rhythm, but we're back, folks.
We're back. All right. YouTube chat brought to you by our friends at Odd Company Brewing, Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for every day. Let's get to a couple of the comments. Mulek, I would hold Ekholm out as soon as possible. What?
They're holding it out.
Yeah, they are. They are holding them out. We also got one from Doug Waite that said, "Why aren't you guys traveling? Why aren't you going to the games, buddy? Did you look up the cost of flights?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God,
Bajillion dollars.
it was started at like $1,800 round trip.
I'm not gonna lie, being in Edmonton
Is a
obviously
vibe.
it's been really fun being around and
Yep.
just going to Greta and all that stuff too. So both are awesome.
Both are great.
Not sad about not going. Not sad about being not in Edmonton. Both are fun.
I agree with you. Both are a lot of fun. We get to go to Greta a little bit more with our boy Aaron. Enjoy the big Greta parties. I think I might bring like a whole crew on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, I got a whole crew coming
Just
as well.
have at her. Yeah.
If you don't have your spots by now, you call Greta right now.
Yeah, like you definitely do not want to wait, especially if, again, you have a big crew and there's basically more than 4 than you. You're going to want to call ahead. MDI out shooting LA 45-18 in Game 5 in LA was a great showing to everyone who doubts the Oilers. Absolutely. And listen, this Oilers team, as the years have gone on, like we talked about Colorado, a team that struggled to get past the second round, right? You look at this Oilers team, the idea that they are not battle tested, the idea that they are not a veteran team who knows how to win. I mean, just look at the fact, and let me just grab, I thought Jack Michaels had an excellent tweet about this. The Oilers have won 8 playoff series since 2017. 8 playoff series victories since 2017. That is one of the highest in the league. They've trailed in 7 of them.
Oh, they've come from behind.
They've come from behind. Wow. So, like, go back through them. What was the one they wouldn't have trailed in? Vancouver, they were down 3-2. LA
Calgary,
last year,
San Jose, they were.
Maybe that first San Jose series?
No, they were down.
They were down 2-1.
They lost game 1.
What was the series where they
Hold on, we can do this. So they down against San Jose. They obviously ended up losing against
Anaheim,
but
so-
they were up 2-0.
Yeah. But
Then they came back and they played LA.
LA,
yeah.
Won.
then Vegas.
Oh, no.
Or
it
no,
was
sorry,
second
then
round.
Flames, then.
Flames,
Oh,
they were
Kings
down.
in 5, they would have never trailed.
That's right. Yeah, because it was 1-1.
Kings in
Yeah,
5. LA
yeah.
last year. Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody
everyone.
in the chat. Great stuff. So, like, they are a resilient veteran team who knows how to play in the playoffs, who are never phased by the moment being too big or anything like that. Like, go back through the last we can set the line at the last 3 seasons in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Only Florida and Dallas have played more playoff games than the Edmonton Oilers. And part of that is just because Dallas has had their series go longer. They just had to go 7 against Colorado. There's only 3 teams in the NHL who've played more than 40 playoff games in the last 3 years. It's Edmonton, Dallas, and the Florida Panthers. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm trying to think, like, Florida obviously won. Dallas hasn't been to 1 cup final in that period. Obviously, Oilers as well. So, yeah, like you said, like, I think winning rounds in the playoffs is underrated. Like, I think it's just like, well,
going
you were
on
supposed
runs
to
is
beat them.
difficult to do.
Yeah, like Carolina, I know they're Carolina, and we all know they're going to flame out at some point here, probably this round. 7 years in a row, they've made it to the second round. It's an impressive accomplishment.
And Carolina's kind of mantra and mindset as an organization is, to simplify it, it's basically every playoff series is a glorified coin flip.
Yeah.
Everything is so tight. The margins are so thin in today's NHL. Every playoff series is a coin flip. What are the chances you win 4 straight coin flips? Slim. So you can sit there and every year say, I'm loading up Colorado this year. Go trade Cal Ritchie for Nelson and get Blackwood and go get Lindgren and keep Charlie the Coyle for Middlestat trade. They went and did all these things to be like, we need to win this year. Out in round 1.
Yeah.
You could also sit, I guess, and go Dallas went and got Mikko Rantanen, and it saved them because they had injuries, but Rantanen stepped up and carried them through a series. Sure, let's talk Winnipeg. They just got their way through St. Louis. What'd they do at the deadline? Luke Schenn, Brandon Tanev.
Tanev, yeah.
Carolina just basically sits there and says, if every year we are good and we believe in our roster, then just do everything you can to keep that core group together, and year after year, just keep hoping that that is the year all the coin flips go your way. And in a way, that's kind of what Edmonton's doing here. When they go and trade a first-round pick, I guess Henrique, I think they maybe had a general sense they were going to bring back Adam Henrique, but he's maybe the one outlier. But like, you give up a first for Ekholm, you know you have him to help you with 2 or 3 more coin flips. You bring in Jake Wallman, you know he's helping you this year, you know he's helping you next year, and who knows after that.
Yeah,
it's all about just putting yourself in a position to eventually get the breaks and win the coin flips, which in a way makes last year in a Game 7 loss sting even more, because it's like, damn, that might have been one of those years where all the coin flips just kind of went your way. But still, give yourself the chance.
And I guess like those trades as well, people always worry like the picks that you give up and the prospects you give up. But if those players are staying, then it's just a spot that prospect can't take.
Yep.
So, is what it is.
Which is very similar to like the McLeod for Savoy thing. When you know you're bringing back Henrique, it's like, well, you have Henrique in that spot, so do you need McLeod? We'll trade McLeod for a young kid who can hopefully in 2 years step into that role. Like, I understood that, even though for points this year we were kind of like, ooh, what the hell is Adam Henrique doing here?
Yeah, the Henrique thing hasn't been great, but I saw a thing the other day of like people comparing Nuge to McLeod's numbers. So it's so different because McLeod was not been given the opportunity.
No.
Here. He just wouldn't have, and he was on a terrible Buffalo team where he was allowed to play top 6 in it.
And power play and all that.
And it just is what it is. Like, the Nuge has that role here, not McLeod, and he never would have. Which maybe is another question, but not for today.
Just speaking of this sort of maturity that this Oilers team has showed, I want to get into one big take for our friends at RV Easy. Your motorhome or travel trailer isn't just for getaways. It's a moneymaker on wheels. Most RVs sit parked in the driveway. With RV Easy, you can rent out your motorhome or travel trailer and earn over $20,000 this year. Founded, owned, and operated by Canadians, RV Easy takes care of everything, including full insurance coverage provided for every rental. And best of all, you choose when to rent and you set your own pricing. List your RV for free today at RVEasy.com. That's RVEZY.com. RV Easy, rent your RV, make money easy. Last time the Oilers played the Golden Knights. I want to go through some of these games, all right? Game 1, Edmonton goes, they're up 1-0. They end up giving up 3 goals in that first period to the Vegas Golden Knights, but it's fine. It gets to the third period. They are up 4-3 in that hockey game at one point. Sorry, no, they would have had a lead in that hockey game, but in the third period, Vegas goes 2 goals in 50 seconds, and they win the hockey game.
Yeah.
Scored in bunches is kind of the theme there. Game 2, the Oilers win. Game 3, the Oilers lose because in the second period, Vegas scored 3 times in 10 minutes, and boom, you blink, the game was out of reach. Okay? Again, goals in bunches, 3 goals in 10 minutes. That is a considerable amount in a bunch like that. You can go to Game 5 when the Oilers lost. Edmonton scores. Vegas answers back. Edmonton's up 2-1. In the second period, Vegas scored 3 times in 90 seconds. That, again, giving up goals in bunches. And then, obviously, in the game that eliminated them, Jonathan Marchessault scored 3 second-period goals, got a natural hat trick, and the Oilers were never going to win that hockey game. They were up 2-1. They're down 4-2 going to the third. They never had a shot.
I remember watching those games, though, and always thinking, like, I feel like the Oilers aren't even in this.
Yep.
Like,
Me too.
I remember watching
when they lost Game 6, I wasn't even upset. I was like, they were not winning this series.
No, I remember I was there.
Me too.
I think Vegas
I was going to crush beers in the third period because I knew they were not going to win that game.
Vegas scored in the first shift of the game, if I'm not mistaken. First, second shift. whatever it was. I think Fogle scored, like you mentioned, but just everything went wrong for them in that series. Obviously, that was the emergence of Aiden Hill, and Vegas went on to win the whole thing. But I feel a lot more confident in Edmonton this year than I did those previous years, because as much as people want to gloat about how great Vegas is, and like I still think they're a very talented team, don't get me wrong, but like I don't think they're the juggernaut that they have been in the past. Like they were centimeters away from being down 3-2 in that Winnipeg game, that Minnesota series. That offside call.
Yep.
Yeah, like that was the difference in the series, really. We might be going down to Minnesota right now. So they're good, don't get me wrong, but Edmonton's good enough to beat them. The goaltending is going to be an interesting thing, but it's an interesting thing every single night.
So my one big take, because you can look back, game 1 against the Kings, the Oilers gave up, 2 goals in 3 minutes in that first game there. Game 2, when they lost 6-2, it was 3 goals in 5 minutes in the third period. Do you think the Oilers are more prepared and are better suited to not be prone to those elongated lapses? Because I kind of think they are. I think those games in LA are a bit of an anomaly, but I do understand you can point to recent evidence and be like, Tyler, you can't honestly sit there and say they're better suited to not do what they did 2 years ago against Vegas. But like they just feel more battle tested. They feel like they're a team who's not going to let Vegas absolutely take over for 10-minute stretches. And if they do, they're not going to let Vegas score 3 times in 10 minutes.
I just think we saw it in Game 6 against LA, where in that second period, for the first 13, 14 minutes, LA just wave after wave was just attacking them, and the wall didn't break.
Yeah.
The Oilers were able to defend, keep them to the outside, limit high danger chances, and just chip the puck out. And I believe they've come more content with how to defend a hockey game and not been so afraid of like, we need to maintain possession. I think in those first 2 games of the LA series, that was a bit of a worry. They weren't taking anything on. Everything was like an absolute hurricane coming at them, and they couldn't stop a thing, any of them. But no, I do believe this team is significantly better than what they were a couple of years ago in the defensive side of the game. I think they just have better players.
I agree with that 100%. And just to put a bow on this one and the Oilers' depth, the last time the Oilers played the Vegas Golden Knights in the playoffs, it was a 6-game series where Connor and Leon had 11 goals. Connor and Leon combined for 11 goals in 6 games. Unbelievable. The rest of the roster, 2, 1, 1, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The rest of the roster had 8 goals, and Connor and Leon had 11. I don't think Connor and Leon can dominate and take over this series. I don't think the depth will be that horrendous this time around.
No, I don't think so either. Your second line right now is Kane, Nugent, Hyman.
Yeah.
They all scored a goal. Oh, no, Kane didn't get a goal in Game 6, but he came damn close to it and had a very strong game.
All right, let's get to our second guest of the day. It's the Star Mechanical Guest Line, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about what makes them one of Edmonton's best locally owned and operated companies by visiting them at starmechanical.ca. Residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency service. They do it all, and they do it well at Star Mechanical. Devan Dubnyk, former NHL goaltender, former Oiler, the host of Ask Doobie here on the Oilers Nation YouTube, which is a good chance for me to say, if you have questions for Devan Dubnyk, now's a great time to put them in the chat. But Doobie, we haven't talked to you since the Oilers were down 2-0 in the series. I know you've been on pre and post, you've been doing Ask Doobie, but let us ask you on this show, what surprised you most about the way the Oilers flipped the switch and turned around that series?
Well, yeah, it was 2 different hockey teams. I mean, the first 2 games looked pretty dire. It was not a good look. I realized they had the close comeback in Game 1, but that was kind of a late push. And then the wake up call in the third period of Game 3 was just, I mean, you talk about a turning point in a series from not just the tying goal, but the decision to challenge that goal and then making them pay 10 seconds later. And from there on, it was a different team. I don't think we saw it quite at the start and throughout Game 4, but then in the third period of Game 4, that push and them scoring the goal, and then in overtime, that's what I was most excited about. That overtime period was just a completely different Oilers team. The way that they and I guess LA was playing differently as well, which you can question the decision there on sitting back, but it was just relentless pucks in, going to get them. LA was trying to sit back in an 0-5, 1-4, whatever you want to call it, trying to force Edmonton to make plays on the rush so they could turn it over and go the other way. And the Oilers just stuck with it, chipping pucks behind them, going to get it, doing what they do, which is creating incredible offensive opportunities out of what seems like nothing. and they just kept doing it, wearing them down for the entire overtime period. It was kind of scary because that's one of those games where they dominate so badly in overtime, and it's just like one bounce the other way and it ends up in your net. So you're kind of holding your breath, and they got a well-deserved power play, which they should have had about 4 before then, and they get one in overtime and make it pay. And you just had this feeling going into game 5 that if they could just continue that dominance and jump on them. And I think it was the penalty kill did a better job. I still don't love the end zone on the penalty kill, but they were getting clears, and that was the biggest thing. They were pressuring initially, and they were getting the puck down the ice, so they weren't having to kill the penalties for a minute and a half, 2 minutes at a time in zone, which isn't doable for just about anybody. They were getting pucks down. And then also the aggressiveness and the pressure on LA on their zone entries and in the D zone was night and day. And that just, LA just didn't have the room a lot of times early on in the series. On the rush, you could see it was one drop pass across. You got a guy walking down Main Street with a head of steam, and they seemed to kind of do that whenever they wanted to. Now with the aggressiveness, and when you do that, it has to be all 5 guys. All 5 guys were on the same page, cutting LA off, giving them nothing, and not only that, more importantly, turning pucks over and going the other way. We saw the dominance in Game 5, another one where you're holding your breath because Darcy Kemper was unbelievable. Only reason that game was even close. And what a Game 6 where, you know, it doesn't go their way at the start, and that's a time that they can get back away from it and get away from the game that they've been dominating and the way they've been playing, and they just stuck with it and got some huge goals to counter that quick start for LA, and they're looking pretty damn good going forward here.
There's a bit of a debate of who was going to start in goal for Game 1, but now it seems like Calvin Pickett is going to take the crease for the first game against the Golden Knights. Do you think that's the right decision, or would you have considered going back to Skinner for this one?
Not right now. Absolutely not. He's 4-0.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how crazy the goalie talk is in Edmonton. And I mean, yes, I realize the numbers aren't there, whatever. I mean, they made the change because they needed a spark and they needed to jump. They needed a big save here or there, and just the energy and the way these guys play in front of Calvin Pickard. This isn't even a conversation that we should be having. It's got to be Calvin Pickard. Skinner's got to be ready to go. I've said before, I hope that they don't have to go back to Skinner. I've said if they're going to win the cup, I do think they're going to need Stuart Skinner to be back in there at some point. But all Pickard's done is won. He's made huge saves when he needs to. He looks solid in there. Again, he's unorthodox. He doesn't quite look the same. He might make you hold your breath a little bit, but all he's done is come up with big saves when it matters. The guys are obviously ready to play in front of him. They're ready to go to war for him. He's their guy right now, and that's the way it is. You can feel as comfortable or uncomfortable as you want with that, but he's 4-0. So until he starts showing me a reason to take him out of there, he's the guy between the pipes.
It's the only number that matters is the W.
Dubs. I wanted to ask you about Stuart Skinner. And I don't know if you've seen them, but there's been some of like the behind the scenes videos that the Oilers have shared of Stu in the locker room and like really rooting on Calvin Pickard, giving him a lot of taps, giving him pep talks, all that stuff. I'd imagine that'd be a pretty tough spot for a young goalie like Stuart Skinner to be in, though, where it's another playoff run where people are questioning you, another playoff run where you've lost the crease here for a little bit. Do you give him credit for, again, I guess, being a good teammate like that, or is that one of those things? Like, have you ever been in a spot like that? Is a roundabout way of me asking this, where like you lose the crease, maybe you're frustrated, got to be a good teammate. Like, what's going through your head in those times?
I have been. Long story. My last season in Minnesota, there was some health issues with my wife, and I was spending a lot of time away. And you know, I lost the crease to Stalock, and he started playing extremely well. I wasn't playing very well, but the thing is one, you cheer them on because it's your team and you want to win. End of the day, regardless of who's in the net, you want to win. And it actually, you know, for myself was relieved pressure off, knowing that I could be away and I could deal with the important things at the time. And we were still going out there. We were still winning. We were still being successful with Alan Net, and he was playing great. So everybody wins when you win. And that's what you have to understand. And most guys in hockey are not going to be where they are without being good teammates. So that's not a false front. That's not made up. You want your team to win. And if you do look at it personally from Skinner's perspective, he especially wants them to win, because if they go out and all this talk about him struggling and they go and lose in the first round, well, he doesn't have a chance to redeem himself until next year. He's got to wait and come back. Now, the Oilers and their fans certainly hope that he doesn't have to come back in the net. But if he does, there's an opportunity for him to come in there like he did last year and step his game up and potentially take them all the way. And if they had lost in the first round and Pickard hadn't done what he'd done, then that opportunity wouldn't be there. So he is possibly, hopefully not, presented another opportunity to step back in the net and take them all the way. And we'll see where this goes with Pickard. But right now, like I said, hockey players, for 99% of the time, are pretty damn good teammates, and that is a genuine cheering on the guys that you go to war with every night.
You mentioned, I think one of the first times you were on with us, you guys acquired Martin Hansel at the deadline, and he was jammed into a role on your playoff team, and it didn't really work. Now, the Oilers are playing Trent Frederick on the fourth line. I always think about that when you brought it up, now that it's happening with Frederick. It's like, they haven't tried to throw him in the top six. They've really just kind of, I know injuries have played into it, but like, he's just playing a role. Like, what have you thought of him throughout that first series? It seems like he just progressively got better and better.
Yeah, he did. And that's what's so important about identifying roles, especially in the playoffs. And with Kane coming back in the lineup, you really kind of fill out those top two lines. And the better players that you can have in those bottom roles, and just him accepting that that's going to be his role. He knows what's expected of him, to go out there, play big, get his hits, create some scoring chances when the time comes. But he knows what his job is, and he's not just, a fourth line plug, not like there's such thing in the NHL these days, but there's nothing wrong with having a really good player that could potentially be in your top six. If he's not able to crack your top six, that means you've got some depth, and you've got a guy who you can put out there in the third and fourth line, who you're not just throwing these lines out to eat minutes and try to not get scored on. You got a guy that can go out there and create and do some stuff. So I think the more that the Oilers can solidify that identity of each line, which certainly looks like they have the last 4 games, it's just going to be beneficial for them to have a good player like Frederick, maybe playing down, maybe in years to come or whatever presents itself, he's going to have an opportunity to move up. But right now, I think he's right where he needs to be, and it gives the Oilers some threat and some depth, different looks on different lines, and that's really what you need to win, to go all the way.
One of the things that was in the news last week as the Minnesota Wild season came to a close was Marc-Andre Fleury's career coming to an end. But then he says psych, and turns out he's going to go play for Canada at the World Hockey Championships, back with Sidney Crosby. I love that story. I know you were never on the same team as him, but do you have a good Marc-Andre Fleury story for us?
Not really. I mean, it depends. You want to make me feel really old. I actually, when I was 15, 16, the agency that I ended up signing with at the time wanted to take me to the draft. So it was 2 years before my draft year. They wanted to take me. It was in Toronto, I believe, and wanted to take me to the draft to just kind of have a look and give me an experience on what it might be like a couple years down the road. And that was the year that Fleury got drafted first overall. So I was there in person to see him get drafted. Now he lives about 3 minutes away from me here, and our kids go to the same school. I see him passing in the carpool lane every day on the way to school, and give her one of these. And he's just a really good guy. He's super well liked in this community, which you don't need me to tell you. The legend is real. There's a reason he goes around and is loved everywhere and is loved here. So fun for him to go and go try to win, get some more games in, and good for Canada to get a great goalie to go there. That's an incredible experience to go to World Championships. My time in Edmonton, I got to go 4 in a row because we never even sniffed the playoffs. So I could start booking flights in January for the World Championships at the end of the year, but that's another story. So,
Yeah.
I was happy for him. Actually, what's funny with the school thing is I was, the reason I missed game 6, I went and chaperoned a sleepaway camp for my 6th grader, and his daughter's in 6th grade as well, and was there, and we watched, felt sad for her. We watched the game 6 there, and she was pretty sad to see her dad's career come to an end. Not quite, but yeah, I've got to know Mark pretty well, and like I said, the legend's real. He's really that good of a person.
Did that make him triple gold winner if they won gold?
I would imagine he's already gotten it, hasn't he?
Well, I don't think he's been to a World Championships before.
Guess not.
So
Does he? I don't think he has World Juniors. I don't know. Is that part of the triple?
Oh, remember, because his World Juniors was the off Patrick.
Yeah, he shot it off of
Oh, sorry to bring that up.
someone's
Mark.
chest.
Yeah, 2 times
don't do
silver
that.
medalist at the World Juniors.
Wow.
We're
Better than bronze.
on the positive train. Way to go.
Yeah, good job, Liam. Marc-Andre Fleury, though, I will, just for his career and his status as a legend, I would imagine he's the last goalie to ever play 1,000 games. The way the sport goes now, Devan, one, you would have to have a goalie who starts their career at least 20 years old again, which barely ever happens. They would have to play for 20 years, and they would have to average 50 starts a year for those 20 years. How long he was in the game and the era he went through where he was still playing 65-plus games some years, I don't think we'll ever see another goalie get to 1,000 games.
I don't think you ever will, for so many reasons. I mean, watching him move and the way the level of play that he brought still at 40 years old is mind blowing. I mean, the skill level and the speed of the game now is so fast, and the creativeness with the offense and just the opportunities that you see in every game. You have to be so fast and explosive. And again, just to be able to play for 20 years to begin with, then average those games, but to be able to play at the level that you need to in your high 30s to 40 is you don't see many guys able to do it. Never mind do it starting from 20 years old or 18. It's almost like, obviously not to the same extent as the Ovi record, but when you really look at the numbers and you realize how ridiculous that is and how impressive of a feat that is, and then you start to compare it with the Ovi thing. It's like if Draisaitl and Matthews are next up, and they would have to score 50 goals for the next 10 years to even sniff his number. It's the same type of deal. It's just not happening.
Yeah, someone in the chat was like Dustin Wolf, and I just went and plugged it into my calculator.
He's already 23, isn't
He's
he?
24.
Yeah.
So if he played 17 more seasons at an average of 50 starts, he would still be 80 starts short of getting to 1,000. The numbers are insane. Devan, new episode of Ask Doobie is going to drop on Wednesday. Once again, if people want to drop those in, do so now. We'll send them over. And believe you're going to be on pre-post tomorrow?
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. It was nice getting in a roll. Now it feels like I've been off for a while, so looking forward to getting back at it.
Oilers and Golden Knights should be a good one. Thanks for doing this, and we'll chat with you again next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
There you go. There goes Devan Dubnyk. You just had to shit on Fleury, hey?
Well, I didn't realize. I also, too, the other thing about Fleury that is insane is that he was a first overall pick.
Yeah. When is the next time you're going to see that?
Honestly, probably never. With honestly, to get into it, the way I was talking to a gentleman this weekend whose son is a goalie, and how expensive equipment is now for goalies. They're he was telling me at his association in Edmonton, the U9 goalies are now having to play U11 games as well because they have so few goalies. Because kids literally cannot afford to buy the equipment anymore.
It's
which
crazy,
is insane. How are we here?
That is a very sad thing for our sport.
It really is. And then we look at it and we're worrying about what goalie is going to play for Canada. It's already affecting the professional level.
Yeah, and
there's just not elite goalies coming through anymore.
And again, part of that, the barrier to entry in hockey is always insane. Goaltending specifically, especially being the most vital position in the sport. If you are a gifted quarterback, if you are a gifted point guard, starting pitcher, your cost is the same as every other player on your team.
It really is.
But then to be a goalie in minor hockey, it's your costs are 6x. Right? Pads alone are going to run you $1,500 to $2,000. An entire player setup isn't going to cost you $2,000.
Yeah,
maybe with skates, but then goalies need more expensive skates.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Ryan Kennedy put goalie equipment in the U.S. is cheaper. Look how many great goalies are American right now.
Yeah,
and I know it's just something that's kind of progressively happened over time, but it's not a coincidence. Canada struggled to pick 3 goalies for the 4 nations. Mm-hmm. The Americans had 5 to pick from. and they chose to leave. They leave Demko at home, and Dustin Wolf, I guess he was maybe in the conversation. I just looked out of curiosity who is the most games played that is currently an active player as a goalie.
Okay.
So Quick is 804. He's not getting there.
No.
The other guy that's close, 754 games.
Bob.
He's also
5 more years at an average of 50 games.
And they just traded Spencer Knight.
How old is he?
He is 36. He might get very close and then be able to drag it out.
How many did he start this year?
This season, Bob had... Come on.
You do that, and I'll get his contract.
Bob had 54 games played this year. He won 33, had a 906 and a 244.
1 more year, then he's a UFA.
Oh, so...
Well,
Yeah, if he had a
doing
few more years left, then I
Yeah.
would think maybe. There is basically nobody else in the top 50. Oh, there we go. Varlamov, 621. He ain't making it. Top 50 is 610 with Ed Giacomin. I know I butchered that.
Yep. I don't even know who you were trying to say.
No.
Is he?
Anyone. Jim Rutherford, 100th.
Ah, Jimmy. What's he up to? Let's
Trying to
get...
see,
by
like,
the
there's just
phone,
like,
Tyler.
there seems to be no one in the top 100. Freddie Anderson, 517.
Oh, I was
Cam
low-key
Talbot.
little bummed that the Canes extended him at that price because I was sitting there being like, man, this summer, I was talking to some friends on Friday. I was like, if the Oilers want to go get a vet to play with Stuart Skinner and are looking
He'd be
for...
a good one.
Yeah, like he would have
Because
been
he's always
really nice-
injured anyway, so Stu would just get extra games.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then when he comes back, he's nails.
right?
Yeah.
And also, like, again, you'd put Pickard in the minors, and then when Anderson's hurt, you just call it Pickard. It would be a great 3-goalie system.
The goalie situation is nuts. Because on one hand, you've got a 26-year-old goalie who should be better next season.
Yeah.
Or maybe the year after, that you should maybe believe in.
Yep. Don't
But
give
then
up on a young goalie.
On the other hand, you have a 32, 33-year-old backup who makes $1 million, who's having the best year of his career, and we're all sat here being like, well, maybe you should go to the American League. And I don't think those people are wrong. It's just wild to think
Okay.
like, these are the goalies right
But
now.
if you win another round, are you not just running it back next year and being like, Stu should be better? Calvin Pickard's
Hey.
given us no reason not to believe in him.
They're both under contract. So
Having
maybe-
your goalies for $3.6 million is such a luxury.
Especially with the cap going up next season, too.
And especially being a team that is always right there. There's the dead money from Campbell and all that other stuff. You're
Like-
going to have bonus overages.
This is going to sound like a silly thing to say, but I've said much worse.
Okay.
Like, how big of a difference is the goaltending? If you have an elite goalie on this Oilers team in comparison to what they have, like, we don't know because they haven't had one with this group, obviously. But I just feel like if you can just you need essentially 3 good games around from your goalies, and your offense should be able to win you the 4th if it comes to it.
Yeah.
And I think these two can do it. They just don't make it easy for us to do it. And, like, you can say massive, but there's tons of, like, Hellebuck almost lost Winnipeg that series.
Son
he
of a
came
bitch, you're right.
super close to doing it.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Blackwood, he played fine.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't good enough. Their offense was great. There's a lot of goalies that aren't in the playoffs anymore who are not probably, better than Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard.
Can I just give me a sec to go through some of these? Sergei Bobrovsky wins the Stanley Cup last year. 18 months before that was without a doubt viewed as the worst contract in the entire sport. Logan Thompson, Vezina finalist this year, traded for 2 third-round picks, currently makes under $1 million. Freddie Anderson, I'm going goals saved above expected through the list right now on Money Puck from these playoffs. Freddie Anderson, again, yes, bigger name, but like just signed a $2.some million deal. Philip Gustafson, any team could have had him this summer for the Logan Thompson deal.
No one wanted him.
No one wanted him. Not one of the 31 other teams when Minnesota said, we want to run with Fleury, we will trade Philip Gustafson for 2/3. No one blinked. No one touched it. Jordan Binnington, 18 months ago, untradeable contract. Anthony Stolarz, 18 months ago, barely in the NHL.
Hey, anyone want to pick Darcy Kemper before this series to beat the Edmonton Oilers? And Calvin Pickard outdueled him in 4 straight games.
Darcy Kemper, 12 months ago, lost the starting job to Charlie Lindgren, was viewed as an untradeable contract, had to be dumped for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think another thing that's also lost in Stanley Cup playoff winners history is Pavel Francouz swept the Oilers. Like, he was the goalie, right?
Yeah.
Darcy Kemper got injured in that series, and he was a fine goalie on that team. That team was also incredible, don't get me wrong. But again, like, when Darcy Kemper went down in that series, we all thought, this is it.
Yeah.
Edmonton's winning because they have Pavel Francouz between the pipes. And guess what? The Oilers didn't win a game and didn't come close to winning a game, really. I know one went to overtime, but still would have only been a 3-1 series if they had won. I don't know. It's such an interesting thing because I truly do not know what the right answer is. I will fully put my hands up and admit I thought Stuart Skinner was going to figure it out at some point this season.
Me too.
Evidently, that has not happened, but we have Calvin Pickett now, our pal Cal, guiding us until he inevitably falls off a cliff and Skinner has to come save us again.
I think you made a really good point there because Mulek says it in the chat. But doesn't that confirm that if we had a better goalie, we would win? Sure. If you have good goaltending, you're going to win in the National Hockey League. My point is, you don't know who the better goalie is. And who the better goalie is right now is not going to be the better goalie next spring and is not going to be the better goalie next fall. Like, that's just my whole point with all of this is like the people who jump down my throat for the Stuart Skinner stuff and whatever. And like, yeah, was I wrong about Stuart Skinner? Absolutely. Mackenzie Blackwood had himself a really good regular season. Last month of the season, he was hot garbage. And guess what he was against the Dallas Stars? Little inconsistent.
He finished with a Mackenzie Blackwood. Where is he?
He's 6th on the goal saved above expected.
He finished with an 892 and a 271. There was only 4 goalies in the first round that had a save percentage over 900.
The position is absolute voodoo.
Yeah.
And Jeff says it. You have to have the hottest goalie, not the best. So I think the take would be, if you're the Oilers, strengthen your duo a little bit. Maybe get someone with a higher ceiling than Calvin Pickard next year. And if Pickard's your third and he's mentoring Ollie Rodrigue, you say, hey, man, you're making $1 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Also,
but the idea, again, sure, would Blackwood have been great? Yes. Then you have to give him $5.6 million. And go through the list of teams who've committed in the $5 to $6 million range to guys like Mackenzie Blackwood. You get Kempers, you get Campbells, who can't start long term. Like, again, I don't know what the solution is.
If you have Blackwood right now, would you be able to have Wallman?
No, you wouldn't have had
and
the
then without
assets.
Ekholm, you would be toast anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone's necessarily wrong in this whole argument. I think it all just is random. I really do.
Goaltending it's just absolute voodoo, man. Like, again, nobody wanted Kevin Lankinen this summer.
Yeah.
Kevin Lankinen turns out is a good goalie. Now he's got a 5-by-whatever deal.
And now he's bad again.
And now he sucks again. And they already paid him. So they shouldn't have paid him. Like, it's just... There's no rhyme or reason to any of this is kind of my point. Let's get to a quick what's trending for our friends at Charm Diamond Centers. Charm Diamond Centers is your spot to get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks through the Charm Masterpiece program. You can also apply for a Charm Diamond Flexity card today and get approved for no interest financing on your purchase in just minutes. Marc-Andre Fleury going to the World Championships for the first time. Him, Sid, Nate McKinnon. That's kind of cool.
Really cool. It's good to see that these guys are going out and playing. I think Celebrini's going to, right? Brandon Perlini, of course, also on the team, which is weird. But yeah, it's good. Maybe the World Championships will be something I put on in the background whilst I try and find something else to do. But it's good that he's going. The other goalies are Dylan Garand and Carter George. Ever heard of him?
I think Fleury wins that starting goalie battle.
I would hope so. He must be going knowing that he's playing. But the Americans, no one's going for the Americans. No one of like huge significance.
Yeah, a bunch of guys opted out.
Kesselring.
Hey, Mikey. Farewell, Rob Blake. He is out as Kings GM.
Damn it.
Mutually parting ways.
Mutual.
I honestly don't even know what to make of that because like a year ago they offered him an extension and he was like, no. Then halfway through the year they were like, do you want an extension? He's like, let's see how the year plays out. Then the year plays out and apparently he was like, okay, I'm ready. And they were like, no more contract extension on the table. What?
Yeah. This was a bad run for him.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
This Kings team had the talent to have way more success than they ever did.
Yep.
And they stumbled at the first hurdle every single time, which was the Edmonton Oilers.
Someone said, how's Hiller still there? Oh, he's there till they hire a new GM.
Yeah.
And then one of two things. Either the new GM will keep Hiller and be like, perfect, this buys me 1 year, and then next summer when we stink, I can fire Jim Hiller and be like, look what I'm doing to improve the team.
Yeah, I did.
Or the new GM gets hired and is like, that guy stinks, and fires him.
Which they should probably do, but I hope they don't.
And if you want to flashback up that meme, Aaron, of it's the Grim Reaper as the Oilers knocking on the doors. As much as we like to joke about Calgary and Vancouver and the Oilers like pummeling them into a rebuild, it's, well, like, so the Flames one is funny, but the Flames one is like, okay, Makachuk put his hand up, and it wasn't like Makachuk was like, I'm never going to beat the Oilers. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
He was just like, I don't want to live here. And Johnny Gaudreau, whatever happened at the 11th hour with Gaudreau and the Flames in that negotiation, it was a weird split. Vancouver, again, not like they sat there and were like, we're never going to beat the Oilers, and then like traded all these guys. They were just an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, they overachieved.
Yeah, they absolutely overachieved. LA is the funny one because, like, if they go into a rebuild, you can, all jokes aside, definitively be like, you're doing this because you can't beat the Oilers.
Yeah, it's literally the only reason around it. And I just think they're too stubborn.
Yeah.
I don't think they will rebuild. They'll run it back, and we'll see Anze Kopitar leading the line at the handshakes again next May.
Just a matter of if it's in Edmonton or in LA, I suppose.
It really is.
Like, where's the series going to end?
Yeah.
It's ended
We'll
three times in
book
Edmonton.
both arenas.
Yeah. Make sure Katy Perry doesn't have any concerts or whatever. Tonight, NHL Draft Lottery, Liam.
Wow.
The team with the best odds of picking first overall is the San Jose Sharks at 25.5%. Chicago up next at 13.5%. Nashville at 11.5%. Philly, Boston, Seattle, Buffalo, Anaheim, Pittsburgh, New York, and New York round things up. Those are the 11 teams who have a shot at picking first overall. I want to ask you, what team winning would create the most chaos?
The most chaos? I mean, Chicago winning would probably create the most chaos, right? Oh, actually, Boston. Yeah, Boston.
So I think San Jose will probably just pick Matthew Schaefer if they win. They need a defenseman. That's clear
I think
cut.
everyone should just pick Matthew Schaefer if they win. But nevertheless, that's not the
Chicago
conversation.
might sit there and go, high-end offensive running mate. Our young blue line already looks good. Let's take a Michael Misa and give Connor Bedard some help.
Maybe. I just think don't overthink it. Take the best player. You have first overall.
Yeah. Philly takes Schaefer. Nashville takes Schaefer. Boston maybe gets convinced to be like, we need a franchise center. They need one so bad. And I think they sit there and go, we have all these blue liners. Like, I know what you're saying, like always just take the best player. But like there would be a debate for both Boston and Chicago to not go Matthew Schaefer because I do think Misa's close to him.
Yeah,
Schaefer.
he's close. I don't think he's a great class either.
I think there would be a debate there. 6, Seattle. I think there's a part of Seattle that would sit there and be like, we need a marketable superstar. And if Matthew Schaefer is Cale Makar, hell yeah. If Matthew Schaefer is Eric Johnson, who, again, great career, oh no, right? That would be the debate there. If you're Seattle from a marketing perspective, do you not want like a guy with 50 goal potential?
Have there been other defensemen who have gone first, or are those the only two? I know Makar didn't go
Makar
first.
didn't. Yeah, I think it's Eric Johnson.
Yeah, Ryan Murray obviously went second.
Yeah.
Ekblad.
There you
Thank
go. Good job, Reese.
Well done. Part-time employee Reese.
Buffalo, if they win, who knows? Who cares? If Anaheim wins, then you get to the teams. Like, if Anaheim won, I think there's a world they trade it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That's what I'm talking about with chaos. I also think there's a world if the Rangers win it where they trade it. I think there's a world where Pittsburgh probably just takes Misa.
Pittsburgh takes me. No, Pittsburgh would have to take a defenseman.
So, like, again, in this world where, like, Pittsburgh, Anaheim, or the Rangers win and get to first, and they sit there and they're like, okay, Matthew Schaefer is the best. And San Jose is sitting there going, we want Matthew Schaefer, and we're picking 3 now because the lottery screwed us. I could see a world where there's a trade if one of those 3 teams wins. Dahlin, Owen Power. Oh, boy. We are.
You know, I've not really been invested in the draft.
No, I don't care.
I don't have to turn on till like 25 and beyond. And typically when I do, the Oilers just like don't have it anymore. Oh, here we go.
Aaron, you did the one thing I hate. I hate when there's like those Twitter.
Tankathon?
I hate the Twitter accounts of like a Flyers fan who will just like tweet the draft lottery results with the Flyers win and be like, look, I did it in one spin. And it's like, okay.
Okay, do it in one spin, Aaron.
Okay, hey,
Okay.
this is it. This is for all.
There's
This
an
is for
ad in the way.
all
There
the
you go.
marbles.
Nope.
San Jose. Detroit second. So Detroit would win the lottery, I guess.
5.1% chance for the Red Wings of picking second.
Wow. And they just did it on our first try.
Stunned.
Crazy.
Stunned. Tweet it from Wings Nation. Anything else trending? No, we're good.
I have something cool coming up this week, but I don't know if I'm allowed to tell everyone yet. So I'll wait, and then I'll tell everyone after. I saw those eyes then. I know what you were going to try and do to me. Kind of high-five me. So, big news potentially this week for me. You know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron knows.
Mm-hmm.
Reese. I don't know if I told Reese.
I don't know if Reese knows.
Did I tell you, Reese?
Okay.
Reese said he's not sure.
He's picked up the info through osmosis.
So that'll be... So that'll be cool.
Okay, we got to wrap up.
Okay.
We can't wrap up yet because I haven't given the people my picks for Bet365.
Oh, Gavin McKenna's definitely going to the NCAA next season.
Yeah, probably.
And that's why everyone should tank next season.
Mm-hmm.
Next season might be one of the worst in NHL history.
Teams will tank. That's why I think Seattle should just trade everybody. If you trade
100%.
DeCord and McCann, you are coming in last so hard next year, and you need to. Also, okay, just going to get right up in front of this because it's coming up in the chat. Daily Faceoff has been a company for more than a decade.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Brock.
Shout out to Brock. That was Brock's baby. Him and his boys got that thing going. Nation Network stepped in however many years ago.
Yeah.
7?
Yeah,
8?
something like that. Maybe.
We're going to miss our friend Frank. That
100%.
goes without saying. I love Frank. I work with Frank every day. But Daily Faceoff has been a company for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it will continue to do all the shows it's currently doing. Cheers to Frank. We had a great run. 4 years. And the company took, and I'm not trying to say, the company grew massively since Frank came.
Yeah.
But shout out to our boy Frank. We love him very much. We're excited to see where Frank goes on July 1.
Yeah, he was awesome to us, especially when we were down in Florida for the Cup final.
Took us out on the boat.
Took us to a boat. Took us to a Miami Marlins game, which some people would see as a punishment. I saw it as a treat.
Yeah. You know what, Frank, in hindsight, taking us to the Marlins game kind of fucked up. That sucked. Everything else was great. We parked in Little Cuba. That was actually the best part of the game.
Little Havana, yeah.
Yeah, Little Havana.
Spooky. But yeah, shout out Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck, my friend.
But yeah, no, Daily Faceoff will still exist. I will still do Daily Faceoff Live. DFO Rundown. It's all still happening.
Yeah.
Still your home with the jerseys and all of that stuff. So.
And it's going to be me taking over. That's the announcement I was trying to
Liam's going to be an insider, but he's just going to make it all up.
Yeah, and I'll still do this show.
Anyways, cheers, Frank. Okay, last for our friends at Bet365, an official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Want to get in on the action for the Stanley Cup playoffs? They got you from game props, player props, totals, and money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and of course the Stanley Cup champion. Download the app, get in on the game, must be 19 or older. Did you get the futures I emailed you earlier? 3 futures bets. Sam Reinhart to lead the series in goals, Panthers, Leafs. Come on, he's a 50-plus goal guy. And Austin Matthews is a little cold.
Okay.
Evan Bouchard over 5.5 points. Traditionally, over a point per game. He's been over a point per game for his entire playoff career. If you think this series is going even 5 games, this is a good bet.
That's points?
Points.
Oh, nice.
That's a banger. Yeah. Absolute banger. Third one, Mikko Rantanen over 2.5 goals in his series against the Jets. If a guy proves to you he can do it in 10 minutes, I'm willing to bet he can do it over the course of an entire series.
That's a crazy one.
That is a crazy one. Parlay them together if they let you.
Ooh. Damn, Daniel.
Back at it again with the white vans. Mm-hmm. All right. That's a wrap on today's edition of the show. New episode of Real Life's going to drop in a little bit. What's coming up this week? Let me list off the people I will text, and then you'll find out if they end up coming on the show. Tyler Ennis, Steve Peters, DJ Bean, Jason Demers. Boy. Maybe Bruce Kurlock.
Zach. Maybe we'll have Zach.
We'll probably have Zach again. Game day tomorrow. We're live at Sherwood Ford, the Giants. Shout out to Nation Valet Service. I used it today. They came to my house, picked up the truck, drove it in. It's got a lot of work that needs to be done. Tomorrow, as soon as we're done the show, I'm going to leave the dealership with it. Nice. That's unbelievable.
Maybe we'll get Giant Mike.
Maybe we'll get Giant Mike on the show. Who knows? Louie again. Now he came on Monday.
Yeah, come on.
All right.
Guys, stuff to do.
Oilers to sign Sam Reinhart on July 1st. What are the odds? 0. He signed an extension.
Well, what a way to end it.
Yeah.
Glad we got that covered.
Kind of like your Fleury thing. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody, and we will be back tomorrow, noon Mountain Time. See you then. Oil up.